Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of Beautiful I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and I am the author of the book titled Beautiful I Am Colored, as well as the creator of this podcast that you're listening to, also by that same name. For those of you interested, you can follow me on Instagram at Beautiful I Am Colored. And now, of course, I'm also on YouTube and looking to grow that platform. So I will consider it an honor for those of you who are more visual if you would also support me on YouTube by considering subscribing to my new YouTube channel. As always, I am so thankful that you have returned for another week to hear some insights and perspectives that I've gained from my week of experience. And sometimes I filter in a little bit of life stuff too. For those of you who have been listening to my podcast for several months now, and in recent weeks here on YouTube, listening to me. So, as you know, I always like to get started with a segment I call a title, rather, shout outs and thank yous. And this week, we will continue in that same fashion. And for those of you who are new or listening for the first time, shout outs and thank you is just a moment where I like to give gratitude for a person, place, thing, or idea that has been a blessing to me in some form or fashion. So this week, the first shout out goes out to House Bill. I know y'all like, she is crazy with these shout outs and thank yous, but listen, I consider a lot of things a blessing. And this statute right here is a blessing to me. So it's Colorado House Bill 22-1314. For those of you who are in Colorado, I highly encourage you to visit it because, as you know, towing fees in Colorado are sky high. So this might be a blessing to you. I'm putting the links in the description box for you to review. Okay, shout out. HB 22-1314. I'm looking over here because my other screen got my notes on it. The bill is titled Tow and Carrier Non-Consensual Tows. Okay. And the reason why I'm thankful for this bill is because I let one of the kids borrow my truck to move some things into their apartment. One of the kids, one of the young adults, borrow my truck. Over the course of the night, my vehicle was towed, and the next day I had to deal with some issues. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. No need to go into detail. The bottom line is I was able to review this bill in detail prior to going to the tow or impound lot, and I was able to pursue some actions that potentially I would not have been able to had this bill not been admitted. And so I'm thankful to all of the prime sponsors of the bill, so much so that I sent them thank you emails, letting them know how much I appreciate it as a constituent. Second shout out goes to, and I've shouted Dr. Jessica Houston out before, I believe, several months back on my podcast when I was just doing audio podcast. Dr. Jessica Houston is a speaker, trainer, coach. I had to do or schedule for myself a very quick strategy session with her, and she came through for me. I encourage those of you who don't know Dr. Jessica Houston, check her out. If you've ever listened to the YouTube channel Motiversity, her voice is one of the motivational speakers on that channel. Anyhow, I'll leave it up to you to do your own research and see if she provides you as much encouragement as she provides me. But yes, Dr. Jessica Houston came through for you, girl, this week. So I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Jessica Houston. I appreciate you walking me through the challenge that I was in this week. Okay, so as you all know, we are going to dive right into our topic of today titled Stop Lying. You're only hurting yourself. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this subject matter is because I think a lot of times it's very easy to blame and put the accountability and responsibility on others when in fact it is us who are contributing to our own inconsistencies or our own abilities to be not as successful in an area that we would like to be successful in. With that said, I promised that I would share a few examples of myself in some key areas where I've lied to myself for the short term or long term, and that have really contributed to me being held back. And it wasn't until my mindset changed to where I saw a shift. Now, it's going to be a little bit more academic today, I think, in nature, because I'm going to do a lot of references. But by definition, according to dictionary.com, mindset is the established set of attitudes held by someone, right? So, an established set of attitudes held by someone. I'm going to go back up to my notes here and just start with the first example of like lies I told myself. And this is not in any particular order, but I do think it will be helpful to the listener or the watcher of this video. Example number one, my weight. Okay, so y'all know I talked to you guys about me stepping on this scale a couple weeks back that I had bought. Because remember, I bought this special scale, but I didn't want to tell you what the company name is because I'm not being sponsored, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Well, one of the things that I have been telling myself all of this whole COVID time, or I should say, we're in post COVID now. So the past 2.5 years or so, just going in on good drinks, good food, I'm talking, when I say good drinks, good food, I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 margaritas, 2, 3, 4 beers, and I'm talking about in not one sitting like an hour, because that's a bit much, but over the course of, afternoon drinking and such. And so with that behavior, of course, I put on some COVID weight, if you will. And so the lie that I kept telling myself about this whole weight and my clothes getting tighter around my upper thigh and waistline area was, you know what? I worked hard this week. I studied hard. I passed that exam. I deserve these margaritas. I deserve it. See, that's what I'm talking about. These little sweet little lies that we tell ourselves. And then you jump on the scale and you approaching 200, 250, whatever the number is for you, ma'am or sir who's listening, you know what I'm talking about. But we told ourselves a lie to get us to do an act that contributed to the very place that we didn't want to be in. And so all I'm saying to you this week is stop lying to yourself, because you're only hurting yourself in the long run, right? That's example one. Example number two. This is a more serious one, right? So in my book, shameless plug, titled Beautiful I Am Colored, which you can get on my website at beautifuliamcolored.com, as well as the ebook version if you do not want a hard copy. Right now, the paperbacks are buy one, get one free. You order one, I automatically send you two. Simple as that. The links are in the description box if you're interested. Okay, time's back in. So the second example on a more serious note has to do with infidelity. So those of you who have read my book or listened to me read my book on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts some months back know that Marlon and I did experience infidelity in our marriage early on. And it took me a long, long, long time to get over it for a host of reasons. Some are valid, but the truth of the matter is that the lie that I kept telling myself in terms of preventing my own healing process was that really the onus was all on him. And while he may have been the person who committed the act, can I just encourage you to think a little bit differently about anybody who has committed an act against you, against your name, against your character, against whatever moral code you have, or it may be like me and it may be an instance of infidelity. In this particular case, the lie that I told myself was that, basically this was Marlon's to fix. He created the problem, so he needs to fix it. And that's partly true. But the other truth, or the real truth, was that at any moment, I could have decided to tell myself or frame my mindset in a different way and say that, what, this did happen, but I did commit to be in this marriage. So what steps do I need to take, to ensure, that I can heal and we can move on? And I did take those steps, but it was stretched out over a long time. I mean, if you go back and listen to that podcast, I think I maybe 15 years. That's literally how long it took me for a host of reasons, which I won't get into in this video. You can listen to the other podcast if you're interested, or you can get a copy of my book if you want to know more. But my point is this: that crippled me. Yes, it was compounding because it was added to other trust issues from childhood and things of that nature. That is facts all day. But I could have healed in a quicker pace had I been equipped with the information and knowledge to say that, you know what, it's okay to hurt. It's okay to hold someone responsible when they commit an act against you. However, at the same time, if your ultimate goal is to be free and have peace, then maybe the mindset needs to shift to a different frame of thinking in order for you to get to that healing place and that freedom, possibly a little bit quicker. Certainly in my case, 15 years was a long time. But the truth of the matter is that I was comfortable with holding uncomfortability. hmm I'm going to say that one more time. I was comfortable with holding uncomfortability. And I probably messed up that word in the audio, but you get what I'm saying. I was comfortable with it because it was familiar. Sometimes when we go through very deep traumatic experiences, and those experiences are then compounded based on other things, tied to other things, it is very difficult for us to relinquish the stress, the strain, the tightness around your chest, the tightness that comes here in the back of your head, the tightness that comes in your belly region sometimes, right? It is very difficult because we have become acquainted with it. And sometimes we feel like, or we say to ourselves, that this is better than experiencing what the unknown looks like, never really taken into consideration when we're in those high emotional, very deep, traumatic moments, that the other side could possibly be better. Because it's the unknown, what we do a lot of times is we shrink back. And what I want to encourage you is that you don't have to shrink back all the time. Certainly, there are times, especially in abusive like situations, to where your life or you're being harmed in some way emotionally, you need to actually literally get up and leave. But then there are other times where you sometimes have to have the faith. Let me just say this about myself: I had to have the faith to believe and then to act and do something differently, and also allow myself to be vulnerable again, along with some other things. I don't want to slide this like it was just a 1-2 pump quick punch. Like, life is cyclical, it's ebbs and flows. So I don't want to pretend and frame it like, oh, we can just get over it, because I know it's not that quick. However, what I am saying based on my own experience is that the sooner we can get to the place of reconciliation within oneself, then I found in my experience that those next freedom opportunities and peace of mind opportunities present themselves. And that I realize looks different for each and every one of us as human beings. But my point is that it is possible if we stop cradling and holding lies or half truths that we tell ourselves. Believe me, I get that it's very uncomfortable, but because it's what you know, you put the walls up, you put the guard up, and it is what it is. I completely get it. That was me for a lot of years, and my husband can definitely attest to this on this particular subject of infidelity. But I just want to encourage you that there is hope, there is healing, and just challenging you too to rethink and reframe how some of these experiences have really crippled us, um, from moving forward. Going back to, um, the weight thing that I was talking to you about. Okay, so with my weight, which I'm working on, I've been sober now going on a month, meaning no alcohol, because I just told you how I gained all the weight. I gained about 25 pounds during the COVID, and I'm in the process of getting that off. And part of that was, I'm sorry, I'm doing my little blanket here. Part of that was, going sober, like stopping drinking. Like for my body type, I can't go in. I can't go hard in the paint on drinking. Like in your 40s, nah, your body don't be it don't treat you the same. It don't treat you with the love bounce back that it do in your 20s and 30s. So I had to cut it out, and I'm finally starting to see results a month in. But listen at that, a month in, right? Anyhow, let me get back to this scale. So when I bought the scale, I was excited to try it. It's a biometric scale. I step on the scale. I think you've heard this before in a podcast a few weeks back, but for the purposes of this video, it serves to tell you again. So I step on this scale and it says a number that I don't like. I will not share it yet. I'm not ready to share it with y'all yet. But it says a number that I don't like. And the old me, and this is an example of mindset. The old me, that would have crippled me right then and there. It's like, man, what's the use? Like, let me go ahead and get me my favorite beer and let me get, the stuff I want, and it's just gonna be what it's gonna be. But this time around, something different clicked in me, and it said, like, girl, look, you've been empowered here. You know where your numbers are. You know how much body fat you got. You know the things. You know what to do. It's just a matter of doing it. Now, just keep an assessment, work your plan, create your plan first, and then work your plan. Modify your plan, work your plan, create your plan, modify your plan, work your plan. And so my mindset was different. And so rather than me seeing that number cripple me, I took it in a different state of mind and renewed my mind to say, no, this is information that you needed to know. Now work with what you got. And you can start right now. The key takeaway, though, is that we need to continue to be mindful of the things that we say and believe about ourselves, because ultimately, in the end, the words, the thoughts, they're creating deliverables in the future, right? It's like having a baby. All those thoughts stirring around in your head, whether they're conscious, subconscious, whether they're or not, don't even matter. Whatever you're focusing on most of the time is what you're going to deliver in the future. So why not, or I should say, I encourage you to reframe that mindset and rethink about some things. Stop lying to yourself and making things okay that are constantly putting you and me, I've been in the same boat, in the cyclical pattern, that we desire to be out of, but we just don't jump out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say. Be mindful. Be mindful of what you say about yourself and what you're thinking about yourself. So, as you all know, each week I do try to leave you. My goal is always to leave you with a sense of hope and healing and an encouraging word. Sometimes that comes in the form of prayer. Sometimes I sing, rarely, but sometimes if I'm led. This week, I want to do something a little bit different. So, without further ado, I'm going to read to you an excerpt from one of my favorite books in the series, The Science of Being Great. It is by Wallace D. Wattles. There, I don't know if you can see it. I ordered it off of Amazon. So, there are 3 books in one. The original printing or publishing of this book actually occurred in 1910. And so, as a form of encouragement, I share the following words with you from the chapter in The Science of Being Great titled Consecration. By going back to your own center, you can always find the pure idea of right for every relationship. To be great and to have power, it is only necessary to conform your life to the pure idea as you find it in the great within. Every compromise on this point is made at the expense of a loss of power. This you must remember. There are many ideas in your mind that you have outgrown and which, from force of habit, you still permit to dictate the actions of your life. Cease all this. Abandon everything you have outgrown. There are many ignoble customs, social and other, which you still follow, although you know they tend to dwarf and belittle you and keep you acting in a small way. Rise above all this. I do not say that you should absolutely disregard conventionalities or the commonly accepted standards of right and wrong. You cannot do this, but you can deliver your soul from most of the narrow restrictions that bind the majority of your fellow men. Do not give your time and strength to the support of obsolete institutions, religious or otherwise. Do not be bound by creeds in which you do not believe. Be free. You have perhaps formed some sensual habits of mind or body. Abandon them. You still indulge in distrustful fears that things will go wrong or that people will betray you or mistreat you. Get above all of them. You still act selfishly in many ways and on many occasions cease to do so. Abandon all these, and in place of them, put the best actions you can form a conception of in your mind. If you desire to advance, you are not doing so. Remember that it can be only because your thought is better than your practice. You must do as well as you think. Let your thoughts be ruled by principle, and then live up to your thoughts. Let your attitude in business, in politics, in neighborhood affairs, and in your own home be the expression of the best thoughts you can think. Let your manner toward all men and women, great and small, and especially to your own family circle, always be the most kindly, gracious, and courteous you can picture in your imagination. Remember your viewpoint. You are a God in the company of gods and must conduct yourself accordingly. The steps to complete consecration are few and simple. You cannot be ruled from below if you are to be great. You must rule from above. Therefore, you cannot be governed by physical impulses. You must bring your body into subjection to the mind. But your mind, without principle, may lead you into selfishness and immoral ways. You must put the mind into subjection to the soul, and your soul is limited by the boundaries of your knowledge. You must put into subjection to that our soul which needs no searching of the understanding, but before whose eye all things are spread. That constitutes consecration. Say, I surrender my body to be ruled by my mind. I surrender my mind to be governed by my soul, and I surrender my soul to the guidance of God. Make this consecration complete and thorough, and you have taken the second great step in the way of greatness and power. I sincerely hope that that helped you this week. As always, I am so honored and so grateful that you join me each week to hear my insights and perspectives. Again, what I just read and shared with you was the trilogy. So it's a series of 3 books by Wallace D. Wattles. And that was Consecration from the Science of Being Great. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that it provides you a sense of hope and healing as always. Thank you once again. Remember, the future you is waiting on you. Until next time, beautiful, stop all that lying. Have a great week, everyone.